David, I've got something interesting for you this week. Very interesting. What do you think?
And it's immediately obvious that this is the latest Nissan Patrol.
And when you say, David, immediately obvious, you mean that there's been barely a change?
Oh, it's got a new badge and a grille.
Apparently this is different. This is different. I mean, I can see that's obviously different. Everything else is the same.
Only from here back.
When this light arrangement first came out, I've got to tell you, David, I wasn't a fan, but it's grown on me, and I actually quite like it. Very complex, it's big, it's bold. You know, this Nissan V motion grille or something, which works on a car this size, it's coming up to sort of mid chest height, so it's really quite a big car.
It accentuates the sort of front nose of it, doesn't it? It's not just one strip of lights, it's several.
It's a very complex array. There's a headlight washer down below. This is meant to be an off-roading car. Well, have a look at the off-roading controls when you get inside. But David, this drinks like a drag queen.
Yes, it's not cheap. V8, 5.6 litre, 298 kilowatts, 560 newton metres.
560 newton metres. Now, that sounds like a lot of power, and this thing does accelerate, but remember, she's a big lassie. The side profile on this is, as you would expect, of a very large 8-seater, David, for this TI model car. The TIL, the next model up,
7.
Only 7 seats. But we've got a few features here to point out, David. The tyres.
18-inch, Alan, 18-inch, I'll turn this way, which has a lot of side rubber too, which is ideal for rocks, but also, I think, mostly speed humps.
Yeah. There's that easy access, so if you've got the key in your pocket, you can press the button, it'll lock and unlock the doors. It'll fold the mirrors when it locks, but they don't unlock, of course, until you start it and put it into gear, which is okay by me. The rear, this is a big slab of car. It's got the new Nissan badge on it. But here's the real shock. This car's $82,000.
Plus a bit, plus on roads.
It's got a manual back door. Some say that's a cut too far. Doesn't open up very far.
No.
I'd like that to go a little bit further. Inside, the floor is level. There's nothing really under that whatsoever. It's just a little sort of case of some kind. The spare tyre is not in the boot, it's down underneath, and that's a good thing because it means you don't have to unload the car. Now, they say this is an 8-seater. You've got cup holders over here for the third row, so that means these seats that fold down, I'm going to say that's 60-40 roughly, fold down in such a way as to make the rear floor spacious and flat. As usual, David's going to get into the back, but only into the second row, not the third row, because we're not stupid.
I love the side step. Oop.
God, you're fitting in there like a king. Look at that. There's a little bit of classy brown stitching here. I like that very much.
The glove box is twin hinged, is it?
Yeah, well, that's because in the next model up, that is a cool box. Down below, you've got some audio controls, some air conditioning controls, and a couple of USB outlets. There's a mountain of headroom, look.
Electric seats mean that I don't have a huge, but I still can get my feet under there a bit, which means I can get to a point where I get good support under here.
But the driver could always raise that if you were so inclined.
Yes.
All right, David, let's get underway.
Let's just adjust the steering.
Gee, there's no up and down, only in and out. Gosh. Well, speaking of in and out, let's get out of here before we lose the sun.
Okay, here we go.
7-speed auto. I'm loving all this wood.
Excuse me, I just got to do the foot handbrake.
Right, so that's the other thing we don't like, of course, is the foot-operated handbrake. You sometimes forget it's there, and it's a tiny little pedal. Some people love it, some people hate it. We both hate it.
The stretch of the bonnet, it really is a cruise ship.
It goes out a very long way. And inside, you rather feel like you're in a private jet with this curve of wood. And the instruments, though, David, I've got to point out, feel like they're from another era. There's a tiny little, couple of inch screen in the middle with no digital speedo. And there's no head-up display either, which I find a little bit disturbing.
Yeah.
The infotainment system also is quite elderly. As I said, there's no Apple CarPlay. And there's a mountain of buttons which is a little bit busy, rather like some of those late model General Motors cars, you know, the ones that had all the buttons.
The other thing is I find the map is more about colour than communication.
Not only that, I couldn't figure out how to mute the navigation. So because it doesn't have Apple CarPlay, I had to rely on the car's navigation, and I could not, no matter how hard I try, get the lady in the dash to shut up. There's lots of nice soft surfacing, there's lots of leather. It actually feels quite luxurious.
And it's certainly got a lot of torque. You have to be gentle on the accelerator.
While we're shooting along, I'm going to talk about the centre console, where the 7-speed selector is. There's a host of blank buttons, a couple of USBs, a trinket box, and a couple of cup holders. Now I've got the lane control and so forth already switched on. That's with the little button there on the steering wheel. It doesn't have lane centering.
Well, how do I get it to lane keep assist?
You've got lane keep assist on.
Well, it ain't working.
Well, no, I did say it was very subtle. Now, David, we're on that stretch of road that you and I always like to have a bit of a bitch about, and you can hardly feel it. This thing feels like a cruise ship.
You can't hear it, but I think you can actually hear the bump, bump, bump a little bit more than I would have expected. But
Well, it's subtle, David. It's just trying to tap you on the shoulder and say, sir, you are on an uncooperative road surface. We'll resume normal communications as soon as possible. Inside, this does look quite nice at night. Subtle orange lighting, though there is definitely a sense of ye olde whirly, and as we've already discussed, we didn't get that nice left-hand drive interior because they didn't seem to think that it was worthwhile doing for such a small market.
what does it have? What's
the interior, the left-hand drive interior is completely different. This is much more modern, and there's more wood grain and a newer sound system and so forth. On the open road at 100 kilometres an hour, you feel like you could do this for days. Days and days and days. It is incredibly comfortable.
I feel I should be wearing a peak cap and a cravat.
I don't think that'd look out of place. Now, down below where on the centre console, you'll notice the four-wheel drive selector. 4 high, 4 low, so it's in four-wheel drive all the time. You can leave it in auto and it'll do its thing for you, and it's got some settings such as rock, snow and sand, and you can turn your stability control off, but it's only got one road setting, and that is road.
Yes. Well, you'd hardly have track.
No, well, I suppose you could. I think I'd pay money to see somebody driving this on a track.
Car coming.
Thank you. Oh, it did beep me. That was interesting. It's got rear cross traffic alert, but it came up in the things at the side. That transmission's lovely and smooth. Steering, stupidly light. There's almost no feeling in it whatsoever. I think once you've been in the driver's seat for a little while, the bulk, her huge bulk, feels like it disappears. Now, there's no disguising the fact that I'm taking up the entire lane.
Taking up the whole lane, yes. You certainly feel like you're using all available space.
So going around that relatively tight bend, and I wasn't going all that far. Oh, that sounds nice. That sounds a bit Juan Fangio.
Well, it's got that nice sort of V8.
Oh, it does, doesn't it?
But not the rough V8. It's got one with...
No, it's very smooth. It's like you, David. It's got a carnation and a dinner suit. One thing I did notice, my speedo is reading 60, and this is mainly because I don't have a digital speedo to be really super accurate. It's saying 60, but my navman is saying 53. At 100, it was more like 91.
Really?
It's quite a big way out. The top model, of course, gets a much nicer audio system, and it gets the rear TV screens and what have you.
Oh, okay.
Gets a sunroof.
Do you think the rear TV screens is a bit oldie-worldy now?
Well, my feeling is they'll never get used, and it doesn't matter what car it is, because just about everybody would either use their phone or a tablet. So I think it's one of those things that has come and gone, like many things. This car still has an optical drive, something that I haven't seen in any car for a very long time. And I think that shows you how old this center console is.
What's an optical drive?
But it's CD or DVD.
Oh, I beg your pardon.
The thing that I like about this car is that it's very comfortable, very spacious. It's got a lot going for it, because it's got a couple of annoying things against it. But nonetheless,
I think it's a cruise ship.
it is a cruise ship, and that's exactly what it's like to drive. David, as always, it's come time for you to hit like.
Leave a comment.
And just over there to subscribe as we go off into the sunset.